I still think Canada will sign a trade deal with the USA that's better for us because Canada needs our marketplace. We don't need Canada's marketplace. We don't need it. They need us. So I think Carney's going to have to, he's blustering now, but he's going to have to come to the table and sign a deal. Could be wrong, but I don't think so. Also, intense negotiations continue over Ukraine and Iran nukes. In Gaza, Israel, that's not going to happen anytime soon because Netanyahu, the president of Israel, doesn't want it to happen. He wants to wipe out Hamas. So once you have the leader of Israel not really wanting to have a deal, it takes, it's very, very hard to get one. So joining us now from Washington is Dr. Charles Kupchan. He is a professor at Georgetown University, an expert in foreign relations. He's been everywhere, knows everything. He wrote a book, Isolationism, A History of America's Efforts to Shield Itself from the World. First of all, Doctor, it's very nice to see you. Thank you for helping us out. Did I make any mistakes in my run-up to introducing you?
No, I think you got it about right. The one comment I would make about Trump in Canada, having written a book about isolationism, is that we've been here before. We tried repeatedly in the 19th century to either invade Canada or buy Canada from the British, and it failed. And Trump, I think, is looking at a map. He's a real estate mogul. He sees good property up there across our northern border, and he says, I like that. But I completely agree with you that it's backfired. It's turned Canadians into a people that want to stand up to Trump. And in many respects, as you put it, it led to the win of Mark Carney and the Liberal Party when the Conservatives were actually set to win this election, and Trump undercut them.
But I don't think Trump cares about internal politics in Ottawa. What he wants is a better trade deal, and I think that's going to happen, even with Carney in office.
I think that's likely. I think the rollout of these tariffs has been chaotic. By the time you and I finish this conversation, policy on Canada, policy on China, policy on Mexico may have changed. And that's because the initial rollout, it didn't go over very well, right? We're looking at a possible trade war. We're looking at a huge hit to the American car industry because parts and cars get passed back and forth across that northern border multiple times as they're being constructed. And so, yeah, I think Trump is getting a lot of negative feedback. The poll numbers are going down. The bond market crashed. The stock market crashed. He's now recalibrating. So I basically agree with you that we're likely to see trade deals with Canada and perhaps with a whole bunch of other countries.
I think that'll happen, but it better happen fairly quickly because once a president gets on the wrong side of the American people, it takes a while to get back on the right side. Now, there was a picture at the Pope's funeral of Trump and Zelensky together, close together in the Vatican. And I continue to believe that there is a good chance that this Ukraine thing will calm down. How do you see it?
Trump is doing the right thing by reaching out to Putin. This is not a war that Ukraine is going to win on the battlefield. And I think Biden made a mistake in not having a strategic dialogue with the Russians to try to end the war. And so I think the proposal on the table right now has some real strengths. And one of them is ceasefire in place. The other is that the 20% of Ukraine that is occupied by Russia will for now stay in Russian hands. That's just the way it is. That's just a recognition of reality.
Right.
I think what we need to see Trump do now is get behind the Ukrainians to ensure that the 80% of Ukraine that is still free, still controlled by Zelensky in Kyiv, emerges as a success story. And that's going to take a lot of American support, as well as Trump saying to Putin, hands off. If we end this war, you need to keep your hands off the rest of Ukraine and allow it to prosper as a democracy that's anchored in Europe.
Well, that's why they have the mineral deal, because they'll send in U.S. Personnel to mine the minerals, and then they'll have to provide security. So, and that deal comes along with the Ukraine ceasefire. Iran. So the Iranians continue to, I don't know what their goal is, because in the next 3 years plus, Donald Trump's never going to let them progress any further on nuclear weapons. And he'll give the green light for the Israelis to just take out their ports, just blow them up. And the mullahs know that, so I expect there'll be some deal there.
You know, I think that's probably the case. If I look at the various conflicts and negotiations that Trump either is proceeding with or has, U.S. Russia, U.S. China, U.S. North Korea, U.S. Iran, Iran in some ways may be the one that's easiest to bring across the finish line. And that's because Iran is as weak today as it's been in decades. And that's simply because Israel has taken down Hamas, taken down Hezbollah. The Syrian regime that was in cahoots with Iran has collapsed. The Houthis are getting hit by the United States. And the Israelis have demonstrated to Iran that they can take out their air defenses at will. So in some ways, Iran is standing there with its pants down. And I think that puts Iran in a position in which a deal is more likely than not. We're like 3 rounds. The 4th round of negotiations is scheduled for this weekend in Oman. The experts are at the table. We're not there yet, but I think there's a good chance we'll get a deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's what these polls don't reflect, is that a lot of things, both economically and overseas, are going to change. We don't know when. Finally, China. China is the most difficult problem for the United States because Xi and the Chinese government don't care what happens to their people. So if they have to suffer for 2 years, 3 years because their markets are soft and their exports drop dramatically, then it's tough. These people are going to suffer and they can't do anything about it because it's a totalitarian state. So Trump doesn't have much leverage there over Xi, or am I missing something?
You know, in some ways, I think Trump and Xi are in similar positions. They're both strong-willed. They're both playing to the nationalist crowd at home. And they both face a situation in which if these tariffs stick, we're talking like 145%. If they stick, our populations, the Chinese population, are going to suffer. Folks are going to go to Home Depot and Walmart and Lowe's, and they're going to see prices go through the roof. And so I think the fact that both Trump and Xi want to be political successes, they don't want to blow up the global economy, they don't want to lose popular support, that would suggest to me that there is some trade space here. And in the end of the day, I think Trump is more of a transactional president than he is an ideological one.
Sure.
We don't know who's going to blink first. But I do think, or I hope, that we get some movement on the trade front, because if these tariffs stick, Americans are going to suffer, Chinese are going to suffer, and it risks blowing up the global economy.
Well, if we get deals with India and Japan and the EU on trade within the next month, China is going to be under tremendous pressure. So that's the thinking. I know that to be true. Doctor, thanks very much.
I wouldn't underestimate the difficulty. You know, a normal trade deal takes months, if not years. Trump says 90 days.
Right.
His team has a lot of hard work to do in the days and weeks ahead.
Okay. Doctor, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on X. Look for @Bill O'Reilly.